Hello and welcome. I'm an AI expert specializing in modern hospitality operations. And in my experience, I've seen how the very best hotels can turn a real challenge into a major win. Today, we're going to dive into one of the most critical moments you'll ever face in guest service: how to handle a complaint. We're going to explore how you can transform a pretty negative experience into a powerful opportunity to build some serious, unshakable loyalty. So, let's get started. This idea right here, it's the absolute heart of our explainer. We're not just talking about fixing problems. We're focusing on how to take one of hospitality's biggest tests, a guest complaint, and turn it into a profound moment to build trust, show that you genuinely care, and ultimately earn a guest for life. All right, so let's get right into it. First up, we need to understand why the front office so often ends up being the crucial first point of contact, even when the issue actually started in food and beverage. You really have to put yourself in the guest's shoes. The front desk is the hub of the hotel, right? It's that constant, reliable presence. This unique position puts the front office right in the hot seat, with immediate responsibility. Not necessarily to solve the F&B issue all by themselves, but to expertly guide that service recovery process right from the very first second. And this brings us to a really vital point. Handling complaints well is never a one-department job. A successful outcome? Well, that's a direct reflection of your hotel's entire service culture. It's a team sport that totally relies on a seamless partnership between departments. Okay, now let's get into what I think is the most critical phase, that initial interaction with an upset guest. This is where we have to perform what I like to call emotional triage. Just look at this breakdown. Sure, a guest might be talking about a factual problem, like getting the wrong order, but the bigger piece of the pie, almost always, is the emotional impact. It's the frustration, the disappointment. It is absolutely essential that you address this feeling first, before you can even begin to tackle the practical problem. This four-step framework is your playbook. It's simple. First, acknowledge how they're feeling. That shows you care. Then you have to really listen to understand, not just to figure out what you're going to say next. After you've gathered the facts, neutrally, you set clear expectations for what happens next. Following this process de-escalates the tension and starts building trust right away. All right, so let's move on to the handover and really look at how we get that information from the front office over to the food and beverage team. Trust me, this is a moment where so many service recovery efforts either succeed or they fail. The language we use internally between ourselves, it's so critical. When you use solution-oriented language, you're just focusing on the facts of what happened. This isn't about dodging responsibility. It's about building a bridge of cooperation instead of a wall of defensiveness between your departments. And this slide just illustrates the difference perfectly. See how a simple change in words shifts the entire tone? The kitchen sent the wrong order again. That creates instant conflict. But guest reports a discrepancy. Well, that presents a problem that we can solve together. This tiny shift makes all the difference in the world for teamwork, especially when you're under pressure. Okay, so the information's been handed over the right way. Now, this section is all about how both departments have to work together as one team to deliver a fast and effective solution for the guest. You know, an effective recovery really comes down to these four things. It's got to be fast, the F&B team needs to step up and own the issue, the fix has to be sincere and thoughtful, not just robotic. And maybe most importantly, every single staff member the guest talks to has to have a consistent, unified, and caring tone. And here's the big takeaway for this part. When your department stop pointing fingers and just focus on the guest doesn't see separate teams. Nope, they see one cohesive, professional organization that's working for them. And that is how you build and maintain credibility. And finally, let's cover the steps that turn a resolved complaint into a powerful reason for a guest to come back. Because the work isn't over just because the guest is happy again. Not even close. A truly professional operation learns from every single mistake. The process has to continue. You've got to document the incident in the guest profile, hold a debrief between departments to figure out the root cause, and then, this is the most important part, implement changes to make sure it doesn't happen again. This is how you build real excellence. This quote just perfectly captures the core idea here. You know, a flawless stay can actually be kind of forgettable, but a stay where a problem was handled with incredible care and efficiency, that creates an emotional connection. Excellent service recovery often leaves a stronger, more positive impression than a state where nothing went wrong at all. So ultimately, this is the question that defines a culture of true hospitality excellence. When you start seeing every complaint not as a failure, but as a golden opportunity to show your commitment to service, well, that's what separates the good hotels from the truly great ones.